Thank you, and good afternoon, Sioux Falls City Council. I'm just going to be over here today. We're going to talk a little bit about, today we're going live with our new software program, Granicus, and so this meeting you can actually watch on the internet via your computer anywhere with an internet connection. Let me take care of a couple of business items before we talk about the Granicus. The agenda changes for the 7 o'clock meeting tonight. Item number 34 has a request to be withdrawn. Item number 54 has been requested to be placed before agenda item 29. This is the public hearing for the budget, so we can have public comment before you actually do a first reading on the budget. In addition, the operating budget amendments that have come back from finance are in your mailboxes for your review. And if you need changes, just let us know. And then we'll go right on into the Granicus. If you go to the Sioux Falls City homepage, which we won't do now, but you'll click on the left-hand side, it will say City Council Meeting Minutes and Agendas. And if you click on that, this opens up to a new web page for the Sioux Falls City Council for live and archived media. And now we're going to actually just show a short instructional video that will kind of explain the software.
Sometimes when we talk about how the city conducts its business, we talk about transparency. It means what it says, that the public can clearly see how the work of the city is being done. And that's important, because after all, it's your money paying for this work. You have a right to know what's going on, and you know you can always attend a regular city council meeting in person. But 7 p.m. on Monday may not always work out with your schedule. So for many years, the Sioux Falls City Link has been videotaping council meetings and replaying them later in the week on cable channel 16, so you can catch up on what happened. And now there's a new way for you to sit in on the meetings, and it's available wherever you are. It's called web streaming, and it works with a regular internet session. You do need a computer and an internet connection, but remember that your public library has a high-speed internet station available at no charge. The best thing about web streaming is its flexibility. You can connect to a live meeting, or you can wait and play it back at a more convenient time. Just go to the city's web page and find the web link. If it's time for a live meeting, you can click on that link to connect. You can also see a list of past meetings that you can view as well. Let's see what happens when you click open an archived meeting. The first thing to notice is that the meeting's video takes a moment to start loading, but then it begins to play. Now, if the meeting was 3 hours long, do you have to sit through the whole thing? No. There are 2 ways to skip over parts that you don't want to watch. One works like your old VCR. You can use these buttons to fast forward or pause, or also grab the timeline button with your mouse and slide forward to another place in the meeting. The other way is actually much easier. Let's say you just want to see only the discussion for agenda item 25. Look at the right side of the screen and you'll see the meeting agenda. Pretty much the way it looks when it is printed. But notice that the items are highlighted. They're actually links to the video. Scroll down to item 25, give it a click, and the video will jump ahead to that part of the meeting. You don't have to wait through all the preceding items, and you don't have to search around looking for just the right spot. The Jump To box below the video window works the same way. Just pull down the list and select your item from there. Again, it may take a moment to catch up on that spot, but then it will play on. Just above the Jump To box, you'll see the agenda item repeated, and you may see some cryptic-looking links. Click on one of those and pull up a copy of the actual ordinance or resolution or supporting materials that will become part of the permanent legislation. What opens up is a standard electronic document that you can page through, zoom in and zoom out, and print. And when you're finished with that document, just hit the back button on the toolbar and return to the agenda. The meeting continues to play while you browse the document. Watching meetings on your own schedule, jumping to specific agenda items, and browsing the relevant documents These are all great features that makes it easy to track the council when you know what items you're interested in. But what if you don't know exactly what item you're after? Well, there's one more feature that can help. It's above the list of archived meetings, a search window, where you can type in a word or a phrase to search on. Let's try university. What opens up are all the specific agenda items that match that search. It helps to use specific names, and if you're certain of the exact phrase, put quotation marks around it. Browse down the list and find the item that you're interested in watching. And again, the video window will open at the right place in the meeting. This new feature of the Council's webpage has been phasing in since early summer, but because we are taking a phased approach, the capability of this new feature will be fully implemented later this year. So there are some meetings that you need to search through manually, but there is no doubt that this feature makes connecting with your City Council easier than ever before. We'd like to know what you think. Please give us a call or drop us a line. We are here for you.
Thank you, Deborah, very much. Let's see. At this point, I'm going to go through our committee reports for the week, and we'll start, first of all, with the Audit Committee. And Councilor Kavanaugh, would you have anything to share with us?
No report.
Thank you. Fiscal Committee, Councilor Costello.
Yeah, this afternoon after we finish here, we're going to talk more about the city's urban revitalization plan and the proposed ordinance to sell bonds in the tune of $5 million. So,
Thank you. The Land Use Committee, Councilor Jamieson.
No report other than the fact that at 5 o'clock this afternoon we'll have a meeting to discuss the lift station policy that will be proposed at the IRAB committee tomorrow morning, and I would invite any council member to join in that if they could to get an update on what's being proposed.
Thank you. Public Services Committee, first of all, I'm going to jump to the Councilor Brown, and then I'm going to go over here to Councilor Stagers for some more comments.
Our regularly scheduled meeting is next week after the informational. 3 topics: Sanford land, water conservation, and water rebate program, new plans for that.
Thank you. And Councilor Stagers, would you have anything else you'd like to share from a public services standpoint on our campaign finance drafting?
Well, next Monday at 3 o'clock, we will have another campaign reform meeting. Hopefully this is going to be one of the last ones.
Thank you. At this point, just we would like to call forward a guest that one of our councilors requested. And Jesse DeWitt, would you go ahead and come forward from AOK Sanitary Service? And Jesse is going to just chat with us for around 5 minutes on the recycling topic, and then I encourage you to ask him whatever questions you have for him. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Dee. As she said, I'm Jesse DeWitt with AOK Sanitary Service, and I just came to give a little more information on the single stream and source-separated recycling and kind of give you a feel for where I see the future of garbage hauling going in Sioux Falls. Let me start by saying I'm not 100% for or against single stream or source-separated. I just want to give you the information that I think you might find helpful in making future decisions that might come your way. First, the difference between single stream and source separated is often misconstrued. At a Whittier cleanup meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, a lady spoke out and said she is currently single stream recycling, but when we got down to the gist of it, she's actually source separating. She just thinks she's single streaming because she puts her tin, aluminum, plastic in one can and throws her newspaper in a bag and sets it on top. She thinks she's single streaming. That is technically source separated. Single streaming is when you throw all of your materials together in one container without bagging, or you bagging, non-bagging, whatever you like. It all goes in one container, and then a machine is supposed to separate it. Source separated is when tin, aluminum, plastic can all go together. The newspaper is just kept out separate, and the cardboard is kept out separate. They're basically very similar types of recycling. Just one is a little easier to remember because everything can go in one container. One is a little more effective in terms of contamination and residual. With that being said, I'd like to take this moment to talk about the fact that Sioux Falls is also compared to Nobles County In Minnesota, they compare us to them at them being around 35% for their recycling percentages, which means for every 100 tons of garbage they put in the landfill, they recycle 35 tons of recycling. And Sioux Falls is supposedly at about 9%. What fails to get mentioned in some of the meetings and some of the Argus Leader stories or whatnot is that Nobles County is currently recycling glass. We are not. And glass can account for about 17% of that number. So when you take things like that out and the residual and that glass can contaminate and cross-contaminate for your recycling, and then you take out the whole weight of glass, Nobles County isn't much better at doing their recycling job than the citizens of Sioux Falls are. And it bothers me a little that they continue to compare us to a higher number when they're not comparing apples to apples. That being said, Nobles County is also now shipping their single stream here to Sioux Falls because it wasn't cost effective for the way they were doing it before. They're also charging their residents, I don't want to be quoted, but I think it's around $350 a house to haul their recycling, because the price that you can get for your single stream recycling is significantly lower than what you get for your source separated recycling due to the quality of the product. Single stream recycling can often produce more recycling because people don't have to think about what's getting thrown in, but it also produces more contamination and more residual. There are many drastic measures that will be coming before the council here in the next couple months, I would say, that I do not believe need to be taken. One such is bidding the recycling out to one hauler or one particular a whole entity or the government doing it itself, just hauling its own recycling. If that were to be done and not let the garbage haulers do it, you're looking at a company coming in and having to charge the customers to haul their recycling, whereas right now the garbage haulers doing it are able to cover the cost with the recycling that they're producing and not have to charge their current customers to haul it. Curbside garbage and recycling will be coming at you. If you ask the majority of the people, setting it by the curb is not going to encourage recycling. A lot of people who come to this city and sign up with us, or people that we know, say, your city is so clean and kept so well, your people must really care. I do believe that that is largely in part due to the fact that the way that our garbage hauling association is done, and that we have 30-plus haulers who are willing to do their job. Otherwise, their customer will go find someone else who will do it. Setting by the street is only asking for cans blown over in the street, recycling blown over in the street, not a way to produce more recycling. Zoning the city so that everyone can see who's recycling and who's not, because you can drive down a street and everyone has a recycling on the same day, is only asking for problems, in my opinion, because you're going to stick 30-plus garbage haulers in the same zone in one day. Your traffic, in my opinion, will be a nightmare, which leads to zoning the city and then bidding those zones. In which case, I have talked to a former mayor, and he has said that he pushed for zoning the city and bidding those zones. You take the power of competition and choice out of the residents' hands of Sioux Falls and stick it just, this is who you get to use as your hauler. You're going to end up with, in my opinion, less quality service and a chance at more recycling. I mean, recycling continues to push the issues for things that, in my opinion, are leading to eliminating other garbage haulers. And I'm not so worried about us. We are, if not the largest independent hauler, one of the largest independent haulers. We can compete with anybody that's willing to come at us. It's the people that are running 300 residents that have been doing this their whole life, and they've stuck their whole life and money and everything they have into this that worries me, and which is why I'm here today. This is not the exact type of meeting I wanted to have, but it's something that I'm grateful to have because it gives me a chance to voice my opinion. Let's see. In my closing, an article I read says that the major downfall of the single stream is that the education efforts generally cease, thus causing contamination levels to increase. Both systems will work. Single stream and source separated are both great systems. But the bottom line is that if you don't educate the people on how to do it, neither one of them can live up to their full potential. I mean, you can achieve the same amount of percentages with single stream as source separated and vice versa if you educate and market, which is why I have ideas for both. I could market. It comes down to marketing what you have and letting the people know what they're coming up with. And you have Craig's, top of the percentage, who single streams. And you have and some other companies Craig's source separates, and he's the top of the percentage. You have single streams that are doing great. What it comes down to, and you ask them all, is education and marketing. And I have ideas upon ideas of what it takes to get it done. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Jesse. Councilor Costello?
Your comments about the glass and the 35% not being comparable to our 9% are duly noted. But would you agree that 9% for a community of ours, excluding glass, is an acceptable or unacceptable percentage?
I would agree that 9% is unacceptable. When I compare to the Nobles County, it's 2-year 13 to 15%. 9% is low to me, but the reason it's on low is because there are haulers who aren't afraid to use the system or abuse the system because, and that's one of my other ideas, is that although I know I'm totally for free enterprise business, is you have haulers that will come in and half rates and cut recycling because recycling is expensive. I won't lie to you. It costs money to recycle. Getting paid for your recycling recovers those costs, but you don't make anything on it. If a company wants to come in and half prices, they can't afford to do the recycling part because that only should cover their cost, and they're not going to make any money, so it isn't worth the time. Thus, their percentages are much lower, 0, 1, 2%, and that's what's killing the average, is we have so many that are falling short of the mark.
Well, I would just say, and I can't speak for everyone up here, but I think most of us want to see that percentage moved higher. And I don't think any of us are really married to, either concept. We just want the percentage to be higher. And I would strongly encourage you to maybe jot down some of your top 5 ideas on how we can improve our percentages and email them to us or send them to us or whatever.
Which is another reason why I was here. I have asked if there's a spot on the Solid Waste Planning Board, and no one has given me a straight-up answer if there is or not. Otherwise, I would love to apply or be appointed. When they sent out, I guess they sent letters asking garbage haulers to be on the Solid Waste Planning Board, and I never received one. Otherwise, I would gladly be for it.
Jesse, on that topic, just as far as boards and commissions, for your information, I think there are like around 49 boards and commissions that the mayor makes those appointments, of course. And anyway, but it's a very simple one-page front and back form to fill out to indicate interest in serving on solid waste board or any other one. And so you might want to sometime soon. I think you can download that also on the city website. Either download it and complete it, or stop in the mayor's office and pick one up at your earliest convenience and turn it in. So when there is an opening on the solid waste board, that he can consider your application. It's a very simple process. Councilor Jamieson?
Jesse, a question for you. Okay. You indicated that Nobles County was sending their single-stream recycling to Sioux Falls?
Yes.
And Sioux Falls doesn't recycle glass at the present time. What are they doing with their glass?
According to the ordinance, it's by volunteer. What they're doing with their glass, you would have to ask Millennium. That's where it's getting shipped to. I can't speak for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Would there be any other questions among our group? Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, just to clarify, the Nobles County single stream coming to Sioux Falls, is some of that coming into our landfill?
I would imagine that the residual or the contamination would be moved to our landfill, or you would have to ask for sure. Some of it may be getting trucked back, but I would guess it's coming to the landfill.
Councilor Staggers, would you like to, we have our landfill person here, would you like to ask him that question?
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Jason Kahn, would you come forward, please, and answer any of these questions that haven't been answered yet?
Jason Kahn, Sanitary Landfill Superintendent. In response to your question, there may be some materials coming from that, from Millennium Recycling. That would be a residual of their business, and thus it would be considered South Dakota or our 5-county waste after it goes through their business process.
Do you have any idea what how much indirectly comes from Nobles County that goes into our landfill?
I guess I don't have that number specifically, and I see Jake is here from Millennium, and you may want to ask him that. I don't have those numbers specifically. The numbers that they report to us are the numbers that are actually recycled, and they're separated out and we get these from Advanced Recycling and Millennium Recycling, and we hold them confidential with the recyclers until the haulers report them to us, but they report what the Sioux Falls solid waste haulers are bringing to their facilities, and then we have those tonnages on hand also. And then what gets reported to us by the haulers is the percentages recycled, not the residual material.
Councilor Jameson?
Just, Jason, as long as you're there, and a question about glass. How close are we in Sioux Falls to being able to add glass to our recycling?
Something that we've been looking at for, I'll say, the last 2 to 3 years, even longer than that. At one time, we did recycle glass in Sioux Falls, and the market just kind of fell away. It's something that I think we're trying to bring back. How far away are we from doing it? I think what we want to do before we actually request to bring it back is to make sure that we can make the program work. If you remember back to magazines, one of the things we did with that was we voluntarily did a program and made sure we could make it work with both the recyclers before we introduced it. And that would be a similar thing that we would plan on doing with glass.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Jameson, on the glass question, I recently attended a Whittier neighborhood meeting where I know this topic was discussed, and I know that, or I believe that Millennium Recycling is exploring that possibility, and Millennium is here. Jake Anderson, do you want to come forward and say something on that topic while you're here? Since I did hear you discuss this briefly at a meeting I attended recently.
I'd be happy to. First, apologize. I'm suffering from some serious allergies today. So, boy, what question to answer first? I guess I'll address the Worthington question to begin with. First of all, I just want to point out that the vast majority of glass that's being collected in Worthington right now is being collected separately, so that doesn't come to my facility. What is being collected, or what I should say that what is residual from our facility right now is currently less than 1% of the total material that we actually bring into our facility, which is, since we implemented our single stream program, is less than what it was when we had source separated. So from a residual standpoint, it's as a percentage is less than what it was prior to July 1st. So does that answer your question?
It does, but the less than 1%, is that just Nobles County, or because
That's total.
Okay, so including from other counties in
Correct.
Iowa and
That's
the surrounding area?
the total amount of material that we bring into our facility, which encompasses Sioux Falls and areas outside of Sioux Falls.
Okay.
And with regards to glass, I'll just make this, I will say that it is something that we are actively working on, and I would say I'm optimistic that sometime in the coming few months we will reintroduce that into the market.
Councilor Kavanaugh.
I believe, if I recall, we had a discussion about Public Works actually having some concept or project of using recycled glass. Curious if that's gone anywhere.
We've been looking at a couple options on that. Out at the landfill, when we put in our leachate piping in the landfill, we were considering using it as pipe bedding, as you need bedding material around that. And then secondary, we could also use that as a daily cover material potentially. There's some uses in at the landfill. Other states throughout the nation have utilized glass, crushed glass, and asphalt. That's something that some states do a lot of, others don't do a lot of. But mainly the uses that we're looking at would be out at the landfill as kind of a bedding material in and around pipes and for our leachate systems. And it is something that we are still considering, along with even waste tires, grinding them up and using those along with the glass.
Would there be?
I might just add, Mr. Kavanaugh, that one of the things that gets talked about a lot in some markets with regards to the handling of glass, and when you discuss residuals, contamination, and so forth, at least with regards to single stream, is that there's argument about whether or not using things for those types of applications is actually considered recycling or not recycling, and so that kind of gets factored into some of that discussion as well. What we're looking at doing is an actual a recycling application as opposed to bedding or, landfill cover or other items, aggregate, so on and so forth. We're negotiating presently a contract for it, so that's why I can't really speak any further about it until such time as we get that. But it's coming. It's coming.
Councilor Stagers?
Yeah, Jake, Jesse mentioned that in Worthington, Nobles County, people are paying more in their garbage bills because of single-stream recycling. Can you respond to that?
I think you'd have to talk to the folks in Nobles County about what the fees are. I think one of the differences that we have here in Sioux Falls, as Jesse indicated, is the fact that it doesn't necessarily show up in people's bills. That doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything. There is a cost associated with it. It's just that in other areas and other counties, it's a little bit more explicit in terms of what the specific cost is. Certainly, I think it'd be useful for customers to know what that cost is, and I certainly will agree with him that from an enforcement angle and from those folks that maybe are skirting the system, so to speak, if you will, that's part of where that fits in from the standpoint of taking some of those items that shouldn't go into the waste stream and putting them in the waste stream and not being able to really have to charge or necessarily have that show up on your monthly garbage bill as a recycling item or something along those lines. So I think it varies. That cost varies from community to community. I can't speak for exactly what Nobles County is because, frankly, I don't know. That's not my position or that's not my place, and I don't get involved in the inner workings of hauling operations in other areas. That does seem a little high to me, but I can't speak to exactly what those fees are and what goes into those fees.
Well, can I ask Jesse then
Yes.
the cost of
Go ahead.
recycling and
Here in
that's
Sioux Falls,
embedded in our prices that the
the cost
consumers
of
pays?
We don't add anything for recycling. The ordinances strictly state that you cannot charge for recycling. Yes, you could say that some of the costs are incurred in the bill, but from right now, what we get paid for our source-separated material covers our cost of and then what we don't put into the landfill because of recycling covers the cost of our equipment and our labor and our fuel. The basics, if we were to totally separate our company and just take what we didn't put in the landfill and what we get paid, it would cover the cost to cover that recycling part.
Would any of the others have any other questions for Jesse today?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Council, now I'd like to ask you if you have any other. Sorry, Kevin Smith, our Assistant Public Works Director.
Thank you. Kevin Smith, Assistant Director of Public Works. I would just like to point out, Jesse made some very good comments today, and even though there is not currently an open seat on the Solid Waste Planning Board, that doesn't mean we're not actively soliciting opinions especially from the haulers, to help us improve recycling throughout the city. And I would certainly encourage him and anyone else within the industry that has good ideas to bring them forward, because the way the process works is the Solid Waste Planning Board makes recommendations typically to the Public Services Committee and then up to the full council on these kinds of changes. And to my knowledge, the Solid Waste Planning Board does not have a laundry list of things they're going to bring forward to the Public Services Committee or to the council yet. I personally don't think there's any single silver bullet when it comes to recycling. It is going to be a lot of things that he mentioned, things like increased public education and increased enforcement with the haulers who are not doing their job. I'm glad he brought that up. But certainly when it comes to recycling, our department's position is we just want to see recycling increased. And however that works, we want to make sure that it's easy for the public, that it's understandable, and that we can repeat it over time, so that We don't just jump headlong into anything and waste money or come up with something that doesn't actually increase recycling, which is why it's going to take some time for the Solid Waste Planning Board to bring forward recommendations, because we know if the public gets the feeling that something is too difficult or too cumbersome or too confusing, whatever, they're not going to be willing to do it. And we want to make sure we've got their buy-in.
Councillor Jameson.
Kevin, glass and asphalt has been talked about for a long time, and recycling used asphalt. Is there an opportunity for the city to maybe set the standard in that?
Well, we certainly can. One of the challenges is that glass, when it's ground up, is essentially sand, and sand is a relatively inexpensive raw material right now. So we can do it, but you may be competing with yourself for the cost of asphalt. So maybe as a test project out at the landfill when we're doing paving, we can build a road with it and see how it holds up. I know there are other market forces that influence the price of asphalt, but certainly we don't want to see our own projects made more expensive as a result.
Thank you.
Councillor Stagers.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Kevin, the one representative on the Waste Management Board from the haulers, who is that?
I believe it's Dix and Hanf Tom Hanf is from Waste Management, and who's the other member, Jason? DJ's Sanitary Service.
Say Waste Management and DJ.
Yes,
okay.
there are two members from the industry.
Yeah.
But as I pointed out, these meetings are open to the public, and we do encourage the haulers to participate, since many, if not all, of the ordinance changes do affect them.
Also, if I could just mention one other thing that I'm somewhat concerned about, and that is an idea that's circulating that there should maybe be an attempt to get the names of the people who do not recycle.
The names of the people, you mean?
And businesses that don't recycle.
Citizens and businesses
Yes,
who don't recycle.
that's right.
Well, I guess the haulers would have that information.
With the city wanting to try to acquire that information.
Well, I guess I can't say that would provide us any better information on what we're going to do next with the recycling program, but if the haulers have customers that are not recycling, sure, tell us about it.
But I don't think that we should be maybe moving in that direction is my concern.
Well, we have not asked for that information to
I
my
know the
knowledge.
idea's been circulating, though.
I don't know from where, I'm sorry.
I want to, excuse me, Councillor Stagers. Kevin, I wanted to tell you, too, that you can be assured that our Public Services Committee of the Council will be most anxious to work as closely as we can with you when there are some suggestions that you have for us to study, and because I know all of us are interested in continuing to improve our recycling program. Any other questions for Kevin Smith? Thank you, Kevin. Any other topics, open discussion? Councillor Costello.
Kevin, are you aware of this letter that we received from a number of constituents regarding the Tutt Hill Drainage Improvement Plan, concerns with that? Apparently not. I don't. Could you maybe just look into that if you're not? Okay, you can keep it. Yep.
Would there be any other items for open discussion? Okay, with that, we will close the informational, adjourn the informational for today, and we will begin our committee meetings. Again, land use will meet downstairs for those of you who wish to stay and sit in our committee meetings, and the fiscal committee will meet in the overflow room. And thank you again for your interest in our city.